Okay, for this portion of the video, you do not need to actually look at the screen. You just need to listen to what I am saying. Okay, let me give you a little clarity on what it is you should be doing with your training. The question is, should I focus on fundamentals, an understanding of the macro of the market, an understanding of CPI and NFP and all these announcements, right? Understanding rates and everything else. Do you really need to be a CNN, Bloomberg TV, Google finance expert? No, the answer is no. Do you need to be the best person at technical analysis? Also, the answer is no. If I use one, can I use the other? Yes, you can. I think you should. I believe that you should have an understanding of everything that's going on, at least to a basic level, in order to give you a better chance of executing on your trades with confidence. That's the key. I think people in this space look for absolutes. They look for this one thing that's going to change the game, right? They buy indicators, they buy systems, they rely on people like me, right? This guy's going to change my life. But at the end of the day, what I tell my students and what I tell my clients is that, and the community members, is that, look, I can tell you what to do. I can tell you how to do it. I can show you every day what it is I'm doing. But if you don't really understand and all you want to do is press buttons, you're always at a disadvantage. You always feel like something is missing. There's no foundation there. There's no learning. There's no expertise. It's just you pressing buttons and hoping that some outside source, something outside of yourself, can give you something that will benefit you. At the end of the day, I feel that people like me got into this industry simply because they want to know that whatever they do, they get paid for. Everything is on their shoulders, good or bad. That's why I got into this industry. That's why I liked it in the beginning. But I also had a major advantage over a lot of people. What was my advantage? There was no social media during that time. There was Facebook, right? But if you went on YouTube to find some trading videos, to find some trading education, you were going to be hard pressed to find Americans talking about trading. And if they were American, they were like 90 years old. Life has changed since then, right? Back in 2020, remember, I've been teaching people for the last 10 years. I've been teaching people, right? I didn't really start making content until about 7 years ago, something like that. I don't even know the timelines anymore. It's a lot of time going on. But there's a lot of confusion now because everyone's an educator. People who have been trading for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they've only lived one market condition. They've only lived highly volatile times. These people go out there and teach people, and then they take whatever they believe about the market and they feed it to you. And then somebody else feeds you something different. And then somebody like me comes around and goes, try both. So what I want to do is I want to show you why it is that I believe that this is the way. And if you don't agree, then you don't agree. My job right now is to give you options and also give you energy and belief towards actually trying to learn this instead of trying to find a shortcut around it. The amount of people that look, let me show you something. Now you can look at the screen. The amount of people that have come across my screens over the last 10 years is kind of insane. I've helped a lot of people in this industry. I got traders in here right now that are very profitable. You go on this YouTube channel, you're going to see a couple of them, right? I'm not the biggest on social media content. I don't really care about ultimately whether or not I become the most popular. All of this is one big accident off of a suggestion of a friend once upon a time to start teaching people. So at the end of the day, the way I do things is my way. And if that doesn't work, it doesn't work. So let's look at what my way looks like. My way is simple. What I try to do every single day is show them what it is I would do whether or not they existed. If they were there, if they weren't there, if 5 people were watching or 100 people are watching or 1,000 people are watching, it would be the same thing. So as you can see here, all I do is pretty much update. I send them a video, right? If something's going on with a one-on-one student, I might share that with them as well. You know, these learning moments. I'm trying to give them a well-rounded education. Part of a well-rounded education is understanding to a basic level fundamentals. See, people think, okay, I have to learn fundamentals. I'm going to become an expert at fundamentals. And then they're like, okay, I know technicals. And then they get something called paralysis analysis where they can't really do anything. It's no different than you dropping a bunch of indicators on your screen and they're conflicting and it's confusing, or you're using too many time frames, or you have too many options in what it is you're trying to do in your technical analysis. My personal belief is some things are very obvious. For example, current market environments, tariffs, right? This is a very obvious thing. It affects the market in a very obvious way, a very one-sided way. And to fight that is a mistake. Now, for some people, they wouldn't know any different, right? If they're not in the community or they don't have access to somebody who knows or they're not into fundamentals, they're fighting waves. So, for example, we look at AUDJPY. This is going to be the case study for today. This is an asset that I gave them the setup. We've been selling on this thing since before tariffs, right? So we've been selling for a while. The market eventually, what we believe, hit a target, and it required some sort of correction, right? So regardless of the model that you use or the style, correction and continuation is a very common approach for trading. You're looking for a better price to execute your entry and to be able to actually acquire some sort of profit out of this decision, right? You don't want to sell at the low and you don't want to buy at the high, right? Unless you're sure that this is some sort of breakout situation. But even that, I don't agree, but it's a conversation for a different day. Inevitably, the market was right here. Now, we're going to watch real quick. You're going to watch me from a former recording, a recording that I had given them, because every week I do something called an end of the week recap. I do midweek recaps where I basically go over everything that we've done already and how we're going to finish out the week. And at the end of the week, we prepare for the brand new week, right? So I do these videos for them. I post a bunch of different stuff in here, and they're inside of a community chat, taking all this content, taking in the education, right? We're having a chat about all types of things, trading, non-trading. Some of these people are friends, right? You've been together for years and years and years, right? 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. This is another thing. People ask, why do people stay, right? They stay because they found somebody who's actually giving them real trading education. They found other traders who are just trading. They're not trying to sell you something. They're not trying to work you into their community. They're not trying to work you into a signal group. They're not trying to work you into an algo. They're not trying to work you into their broker. That's not allowed, right? The only thing that we really discuss in here is trading related topics, and then other foolery that when the market's not really busy, because why not, right? You would do that in a gym, right? You would do that in anywhere, right? At work, there's a time for camaraderie and fun, and then there's a time for work time, right? So when the market's open and moving and grooving, we are in work mode. And when it's not, then it's not. So I do these updates. Now, what you're about to watch is an end of the week recap where I start, and a midweek recap where I cover what it is I want to do on AUDJPY. Understand that you're watching a technical approach where I'm breaking down price and I'm talking about price, and I'm basically saying what it is we're looking for here, okay? Why? Now, you'll notice that the market's going to be at the lower end of this structure. It's going to be somewhere near this blue triangle. I'm not sure, but you might even see me draw the blue triangle. And you'll notice everything that happened after. Inevitably, the market gets to a price we want. This is a place we already were. We were already here. This was already a price that was alerted and something that we were searching for. Now, a lot of people might look at this and go, why would he allow the market to go 77 pips? Why wouldn't he buy it? If you're in this community, you would understand. Too many options. You need to focus on the bias and the prices and the strategy that's appropriate to you. There are plenty of traders out there that are profitable ignoring 90% of the market moves. That is a very common thing. Do you really think that the most successful traders are out there trying to pick apart everything? Or is there specific things that they look for in order for them to feel that the edges and probability have landed on their side even slightly? Remember, you're going to lose in the market. It's going to happen. There's no way around it. The best traders out there could be 50%, 60%, 70%, 80% win ratios. No one's 100%. And if they are, it's for a small period of time. It happens, right? Runs of brilliance, moments of like just pure flow, but that's not all the time. In order for you to be able to control something that seems insurmountable, you cannot control this thing. You have to be able to control something, and there's nothing easier to control than yourself. That's the one. You got to control yourself. How do we do that in the trading space? When we have certain pieces of information, when we have certain pieces of data, when we understand our edges and our approach, we stick to that, which means you're going to miss out on certain things. On this asset, I'm bearish. I'm bearish on this asset. I've been bearish, and I'm going to stay bearish unless certain things get undone here where I got to switch it over. And there's another reason why I'm bearish. Fundamentally, this asset has been bearish because of the yen. The yen continues to, this is this year's movement, okay, right here. This is something that we lived in that community. And like I like to tell them, and like I say all the time, if I'm lying, I'm dying. When I put these videos out, understand that they know what I've been saying. So if I'm lying, they'll know. Now, we've been on the bearish side of this, and it might just be a short-term play right now. There's a lot of right now we've had this. So let me show you. This happened a couple of days ago, okay? This happened a couple of days ago, and we've been dealing with that, right? This is the aftermath, and as you can see here, they're not getting caught by surprise. Now, all of them aren't trading AUD JPY. Some of them are trading GCAD. That's a profitable situation. There it is again. That's gold. What does he say? Gold. Markets aren't scary in the Zaps way. That means something to me. I read everything they say. I communicate with them every single day. You know, so with some of these people, we've become friends, right? Some of these people have helped me build this brand by sharing their results. Because without them, if you go through my social media, yeah, I got some of my own personal results, but 99% of it is them. That's how I wanted to build this brand. And if you've been following me for a long time, you know that. You know that that's how I built the brand. I didn't build it through luxury and fanciness. I built it through the results of the students. And because if I can do that, it separates me from so many people. Because let's be honest. All right. So you could see some beautiful screenshots. You can see people kind of, you know, enjoying their winning. It also allows them to understand that they've arrived. You know, this isn't just luck when they start to see all these people with the similar screenshots, even though this is not a signal group. It's not a signal group. So how are they getting similar screenshots? How are they getting these wins? Look at this beautiful gold buy, right? How is this happening, right? Skilled positions on GJ, gold. How is this happening when I'm not telling them, hey, everybody, get in? Education. They've learned to focus on specific things. Now, yes, they have basically one big tool of guidance, and they basically are being given prices and how and when and what they're looking for. We do webinars. We do, like I said, updates. There's video updates. There's live webinars. There's Q&As. There's master classes. There's a whole beginner and advanced course. The material is like 50, 60 hours if the person really wants to watch all that. And there's constantly moving content from day in, day out activity, right? So they get a nice, solid, well thought out every single day understanding of what it is to be expected out of the charts, and more importantly, themselves. So let's look at this example so that you can stop thinking, is it one or is it the other? Okay. Now, why is it important to understand fundamentals? Why is that important? Let's begin with what's the purpose of fundamentals and what's the purpose of technicals. So first things first, I'm going to read this off something that I wrote up here. So we're going to do that. Why should someone learn fundamentals and technicals in trading? Because together they give a full picture of what's happening in the market. Relying on one while ignoring the other limits your understanding and exposes you to unnecessary risk. What I mean by that is that you're placing yourself in a situation where you don't know as much as you could know. And as you know, knowledge is power. And in this space, knowledge and experience equals profit. You can't get lucky long term. If you've listened to my podcast, specifically one of them with Angel Hernandez, right? So you can go on my Instagram at Gustavo Zaps. Angel Hernandez has made 43,000, 50,000, but he has the beginning of his career. He made $25,000 without any knowledge, something along that ballpark. I'm remembering something from years ago, so the number might be slightly off. But he made a bunch of money before he even met me. 25 grand. He was working at a deli or a restaurant or something along those lines, and he ended up quitting. You know, we always laughed that, you know, he took a pee-pee on the boss's desk and said, "I'm out of here." And then he went to his mother's job and he said, "Mom, we made it. Quit your job." His mom was looking at him like he was crazy, and he ends up maybe a week later losing the money and having to look for another job. That is a story that so many people have. I speak to people every single day who want to learn how to trade or want to be better traders, okay? So many of them are in these holes of debt that they've created for themselves because of too many deposits. So many of them quit their job too early. So many of them made a bunch of money, lost a bunch of money. That's because you lack knowledge and experience. If you had knowledge and experience, you wouldn't quit your job that fast. If you had knowledge and experience, you wouldn't use this lucky surplus of income and just blow it the next week. what would you do? You would use it as a position of power. You would use it as emotional cushioning. All right. So knowledge and experience. Next, fundamentals. What is it, right? It's the economic high impact news calendar. Forex Factory, investing.com. Look, you're going to have every single month, you're going to have highly volatile news sessions. And in the current world that we live in, we have a president that has the power of those news sessions, but on his phone, by tweeting, by being on Truth Social, right? His own platform. Fundamentals are your central bank decisions, your geopolitical decisions, so, global economy and policy changes. When we talk about, rates, or we talk about inflation, or we talk about, job markets, unemployment, things like that, that's going to move the market. It's going to move the market. Now, when you talk about tariffs, which has been a thing for the last, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, depending on when you watch this video, when you see how the tariffs affect the market, that is something that just right in front of your face is giving you a live example as to how powerful words and promises are in the market. A lot of volatility, a lot of movement. Why would it be important for you to know that? So that you don't fight the falling dagger and start buying in a bearish market. So that you don't fight the skyrocketing market and try to catch it so that you can eventually sell it. So that you look for the easiest approach, which is continuation, continuing with bias. Now, that's easy to say. Everyone out there is going to say that to you. Don't fight the trend. Go with bias. The trend is your friend. But what does that mean? Because if the market, we could look at the screen real quick. If the market is bullish for 180 pips, and you have the perspective of somebody on an hourly, a 15-minute chart, it's going to look like this to you. Let's go to a 30-minute. If I'm on a phone, it looks like this to me, right? If I'm just looking at a 15-minute chart on this particular day, the 23rd, I see a ton of potential for bullishness. But do I know ultimately where the buy ends? So I know that maybe fundamentally, because of news, right now we're bullish. But what we don't know is whether or not the market is trying to achieve a specific price in order to then take it back on bias, because all they're trying to do is find the correction to continue the same thing they've been doing. You must understand that volatility, ultimate movement is going to come from your macros, your higher frames. The higher frames are directly connected to the fundamentals. For you to ignore high impact news, immediately you put yourself in a situation where for some of these brokers, they're going to kill your trades, right? You can't trade during high impact news. So that's already something that's completely wrong. For you to ignore macros, you're ignoring ultimately easy continuation moves, because if the market is bullish for a reason, and the reason is a macro reason, and you're trying to sell on this, the sell is so much more difficult than the buy. So understanding fundamentals lets you anticipate big moves, not just react to them. That's not a small point. If I already know that there's going to be news at 8:30 a.m. and the market reaches for a price I wanted, I'm not going to freeze up and start going, oh shit, maybe it's a buy, right? I know that I wanted this price. Now, this move that I'm going to show you in a second, that move took multiple days. But once the market got there, I don't care about this impulse. This impulse is where I begin to trade. Thank you for giving me my price. Thank you for giving me an even better price. I wanted this price. I prepared for this price. I strategized for this price. Ultimately, everything that happens after, regardless of your strategy, it's only going to dictate how much risk you actually put on this. Whether or not it deserves, how I like to explain it to beginners, does it deserve a C+? I don't know in your household. In my household, if I got anything less than an A, I'm getting my ass kicked. But we're living in a new world. So we're going to go with C+, okay? You're passing. It's a passable moment. What does that deserve as far as risk? It deserves 10% of the allotted risk for the chart. So let's say you've already come up with, not your account, the allotted risk for the chart. So let's say you've already come up with, I trade at max risk. I only want a standard, $10 a pip. Okay? Let's say that's my understanding and that's in my plan. When it gets here, you'd be foolish to put in the full standard. You have no flexibility after you place that full standard. So I like to teach my beginner students or people with management problems to start pyramiding in, layer them in. Sprinkle them in there. What does this moment deserve? It's just achieved price. It deserves bottom of the barrel, beginner, starter risk. So let's say you normally trade at $10 a pip. I would go with $1 a pip. Start it up. As the market creates structural closes, this is why you need technicals. You need technicals because technicals show supply and demand, liquidity zones, breakout positions, pockets of liquidity, retracement positions, restructuring positions, right? Fibonacci's, moving averages, Bollinger Bands, VWAP. Like, it doesn't matter what you're using. You need your technical analysis to be able to be more precise about the ultimate price you're going to choose. By you ignoring fundamentals, you're ignoring ultimate bias. Now, in my community, I basically tell them, right? And it is very true that within technicals, you're going to find ultimate bias, right? If I go to a daily chart right now and I open this up and I'm an intraday trader, so me and the daily chart, we're friends. Me and the daily chart, we're lovers. I love the daily chart and the daily chart loves me. I'm an intraday trader. Not really. I'm more of a swing and position trader, but I learned how to be an intraday trader before I learned how to swing trade all those years ago. So we hold trades for hundreds of pips. There are people in the community who have been holding gold on the buy side since 2021. So when we look at this, right? When we look at this, what do we see? On the daily, we see very strong bearish structure. Extremely strong. Now, if we go to a weekly, it's a different story. But there are things here which I'm not going to break down now because we don't have that type of time. And this is a free video on YouTube. So if you want the real saucy sauce and you want to learn for real, you know who to call. You know who to message. Don't call me. Message me, please. Instagram at Gustavo Zaps. Telegram at Gustavo Zaps. So here you can see where the market has found its bearishness. We knew that was going to be the case. And now, no, I'm sorry. Let me correct that. We knew that was going to be the best case scenario for us to execute our bearish bias. Let's change our thinking right now. Absolutes, I know everything, I'm perfect, right? I'm the god of trading. You're never going to achieve that. That doesn't exist. That's just marketing. Think of it in probability. Think of it in percentages. Think of it in how can I turn this into the best case scenario? Think of it like an investor. Think of it like a businessman. Think of it like someone or a businesswoman. Okay, nobody attack me. Think of it as if the more information and the more precise I am about things, the more likely I am to succeed. If you think of anything, real estate, businesses, you're opening up a barbershop, you're opening up a cookie shop, you're opening up a sticker shop, I'm looking at things on my desk, a paper mill, right? What do you need? You need to do your due diligence. You need to do your due diligence. You need to think about what it is you're about to get yourself into. You need to think about how much money you have, how much money is going in, how much money is coming out. You need to think about how much money you have to hire, to fire. You need to think about the marketing plan. You need to have your logistics done. You need to understand your tax. I'm not going to get too much into that. Not for the trading part as much, but for a business, you need to understand your tax structure. So when we talk about trading, the problem is people are searching for perfection. And since it's a losing battle, you're never going to find that. They're always chasing something and they never actually learn anything. What you need to think about is how can I place my money as intelligently as possible on this screen in order to get more money back? And the answer on this, for example, with AUDJPY, you'll see me, I attempted some trades here, which went okay, right? 40, 50, 60, 70 pips, what's this right here? Yeah, like 80 pips max on the best situation. But eventually the market's speaking to me on the technical side and I'm looking for a higher price. Now we're going to see those breakdowns that I gave the community way before any of this happened. Okay, so this is the first video that I want to show you. It's from the 23rd. This is way before any of the moves happened. As you can see, there's no little blue triangle on the bottom. Remember, this is a video that I gave the community as a end of the week recap to prepare for the brand new week. I want to give them as much information as possible. I am tying it in to fundamentals. Why? Because fundamentally we've been bearish because of news, because of yen news and because of tariff news. So I do not want to fight the bias. I want to wait for a better price. You can see that I'm pretty far away from where I really want to be. and I'm breaking down the 4-hour, and I'm breaking down the hourly, and I'm breaking down the daily. I'm not running from anything. I'm embracing the mess that the market has created and giving them a way to work through that, because anyone can trade a trend, right? But what do you do when the market, there you go, there's a little blue triangle we're talking about. That means something specific to them, right? We're talking about liquidity at that point. We're talking about better prices. Now I'm pointing for a better price. You can see me looking for that better price. At this point, technicals and fundamentals, that's all I really have, because the market hasn't gotten there yet. All right, and now this is the 27th. And on the 27th, we're starting to see some sort of movement. So I'm breaking down a timing mechanism. I'm breaking down some of the internal liquidity grabbing. I'm breaking down some of the things that have structurally been undone, which should mean that we're looking for a higher price. I'm also discussing the fact that at this point, what was holding us back as far as trying to go bullish. So if we were AUD JPY buyers and we were thinking about what it is we need in order to really be bullish, news was we're still working against us. That's one. And two, technically speaking, we're still bearish. So I'm using both to be able to come up with a better plan. Now, a lot of people would try to figure out how to break this down, right? How to break the low side of the market. Not me. You could see me pointing for a better price. Now let's go back to current market. And this is current market. What did the market do? This is where we drew a little blue triangle. This is where we were on the low side. I was looking for a much higher price. I think most people, they see that buyer impulse, because remember, most people fail at this. Most people don't do well in this. Most people, they just deposit until they burn out. The problem is they don't have the right information. They don't have the right support. They don't have a community. So it's like a lonely thing. You're lost. You can't even ask a simple question without somebody charging you for it. Now, I'm not a saint, right? I'll answer questions, but the moment that you start asking me too many questions for free, I'm going to be like, hey, this is the price for the community. But at the end of the day, I still feel that I was new once upon a time. There was nobody around. There was no social media. Everybody I ever tried to hire to help me, they ended up screwing me over or not being what they said they were. So when I started teaching people, I wanted to be the difference, right? I wanted to be different. I wanted to be treated better. I wanted to treat people better than the way that I was treated, period. And that's worked out for me. Like I said, we wouldn't be here if some of my students didn't do well, right? Now, is everybody going to do well? Come on. How many people get coaches in the gym and stay fat? How many people get into diets and get fat? How many people they have all the knowledge at their fingertips every single day, and they can't fix the problems they have in the world, in their worlds, right? They're in debt. There's tons of debt consolidation and finance tips on YouTube. You want to learn how to edit? You never actually learn, because you have to go through the content, and it's a whole lot of little baby steps, right? All right, what do you mean I got to read a book? What do you mean I got to watch a video? What do you mean I got to try? What do you mean I got to feel like I don't know anything in order to actually learn something? The amount of things that exist in this world, skills are skills, and people fail at skills, which brings me to something I say in almost every video. We may all play basketball in high school, but none of us are guaranteed to get to the NBA. We may all train jiu-jitsu, but maybe none of us are going to be the best grappler on the planet. We may all box. We're not going to be Mayweather. It's unlikely. But you can be the best version of you. You can find something good out of it. In this space, you might be able to make an extra check a week, an extra check a month. Instead of waiting for your tax check, you might be able to pull some profits out of the market. Or you might become like one of those students of mine that make $166,000 on a funded company, or another one who made $43,000 off his personal, or another one who made $120,000 off his personal, or another one that made $70,000 on a funded. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking about all the posts that are on the top side of my Instagram. Go watch them there. And we have more coming, right? And there's a lot of testimonials that, they don't want to really talk about their money or income. They're a private person. 9 out of 10 people are like that. So I'm grateful for the people who actually let me talk about it, because it, again, allows me to grow this business and this brand. The market can do a lot for you. It can change your life. It can also destroy it. Information is key. So let's get back to it. Fundamentals is your economic indicators, right? The high impact news on those websites like Forex Factory. And of course, nowadays, those surprise tweets from the president, Donald Trump. Then you have why do we use fundamentals? To understand why the market is holding a certain bias, and also to understand why you should not be going against the trend with certain market movements. The technicals, what's the point? To show you real price action, allow you to make more precise decisions, allow you to use a stop loss that makes sense, not a stop loss out of fear, but a stop loss out of tactic and skill, right? A stop loss that makes sense monetarily and also structurally. Fundamentals give you context, right? So fundamentals tells you how, why, right? Why this is happening. When you see a big impulse in the market, like look at all this, right? Technically speaking, this is a breakout. Technically speaking, this is ascending. Technically speaking, this is a Fibonacci 38 level. Okay? Everything is there. Technically speaking, that's a target hit. This is liquidity grabs. This is mitigation. This is a retracement into a Fibonacci on a mid frame for a 70. There you are. Closure on the 61.8. There's no secrets here. Everyone knows Fibonacci's exist. Trend lines exist. Timing mechanisms exist. It's using it. That's the key. It's controlling your decision making. That's the key. It's your risk management. That's the key. How do we lean into the things that we know we need to worry about? Risk management, trade management, entry, exit, mid, and all the stuff in between. We need information. Fundamentals gives you the context to be able to go, you know what? This thing's been bearish for a real reason. Not a technical reason, a real reason. The technicals allow you to come up with where you should be coming in from. Where, how fast, how much. That is what you should be worried about. If you want to be consistent, not just lucky, you need to understand the why and the how. Fundamentals shape the field, shape the playing field. Fundamentals is the court you're playing on. It's the environment that you're living in. Do you understand it? Technicals help you navigate that environment. Help you play that environment smarter. You're on steroids with the technicals. Fundamentals allow you to understand you're about to box. Technicals allow you to understand that you're going to put in some PEDs so you don't get tired, and you're going to put some cement in those gloves so you knock your opponent out even though you're cheating. But in this world, in the trading world, you have to take as many advantages as you can. Right? This isn't a fair game for you. So wherever you can find advantage, go get that advantage. Now, again, do I have to be an expert in fundamentals? No, but it's helpful to understand it. Am I going to be paralyzed by the fact that gold is bullish because of war, because of tariffs, because of economic, just overall global economics? Does that mean I can never sell? No, it doesn't mean that. Let's go to the group. Let's look at the community. We're going to find some sells on gold. That's a buy on gold. I could tell immediately what he did there. That's a Gustavo Zabs buy all day, every day. I don't sell on gold really, but every now and then we throw some sells on there. There's a sell on gold. All right. There's a sell on gold. One person is buying, the other one is selling. How does that happen? They understand the market environment. They understand something that I've taught them since day one. You buy where it makes sense and you sell where it makes sense. Where does it make sense? Now we're talking. Now you're thinking. You don't just buy because of a green candle, and you don't just sell because of a red candle. There's something here with liquidity and Fibonacci's and extensions and timing mechanisms. Everything that we talk about. What's this? GU. What's this? GU. Remember, this is not a signal group. So if you see similarities in their entries, gold on the buy. Gold. GJ. Gold. GJ. $600. I remember this screenshot. $600 made in an evening. This was like off of one play where he layered in a lot of entries. GJ. This is him picking the high on GJ. Why would he trust that high? GJ has been mostly bearish this year. There's been a lot of bullish moments as well. But why would he trust a high on the sell side when the market is going bullishly? Because he knew exactly what was going on. Because he's been trained that way. And as you can see, I'm speaking to them, right? I do stupid things like memes and stuff because I like to have fun with this. When you've been doing this, teaching people for 10 years, you're going to have fun with it also. I do this every day. I love what I do, and I'm going to have fun with it. GU on the sell side, right? This is us buying on GJ, right? Because I knew about the correction. This is me keeping them informed. So I'm keeping them informed in the community. Look, you can see all these nice little screenshots going on. All right, I could do this all day, every day, for years. And of course, I'm in here all the time as well, in the main channel. And they all get access to the courses, which look like this. Right here. The beginner course, the advanced course, the entry immersion series, the bounce back trading course for people who have taken big breaks and need to come back and kind of refresh some things. I also have a free crash course, power hour course, which is live Q&A, foundation master classes, which are drill downs on very specific topics, and of course a mindset series, because if your mind is incorrect, if your approach is incorrect, if your risk management is incorrect, if you're a greedy little pig, if you're a whiny little bitch, these things don't work in this space. You cannot have emotion and also be a person that's dealing with all this money just floating around. You have to be in control. If you went to the bank, right? I always tell people this story. My parents, once upon a time, went to a bank. They saved up all their money, and they knew that retirement was down the pipeline. I remember I was a little kid, and we went to a very one of the biggest banking institutions in the country. My parents didn't have any money. They're immigrants in this country. They worked hard, saved a lot of money. We weren't very, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, but they were saving and squirreling away. They were good at that, and they gave the bank a couple of $1,000. The bank gave them a booklet this big about all the parameters and procedures about this money. Fast forward some years, all they saw with that money was loss and inevitably break even. And when they took the money out because they needed it for a family emergency, fees. So ultimately, what happened? Nothing. So at some point in my adult life, I decided, you know what? I want to find out. That moment stuck in my mind. That desperation that I heard when they went home stuck in my mind. And when I became an adult and this came across my table, I remembered about that one moment. And I decided, before it's my time to do something similar and think about retirement, I was in corporate America at that time. I really want to know how all of this works. I want to know if I can invest the money myself. This was before Bitcoin. This was before crypto. This is before NFTs. This is before Forex futures was so popular. Options. Before this was all popular. This was a solo game once upon a time. What I realized through the years is that the greed, the microwave mentality, I just want to know how to do this, but I don't really want to know how to do this. Just show me how to make money and move on. The person who's like, hey, can you just do this for me? I got $1,000. We could split it 50-50, which, by the way, and I'm going to tell you right now, that is such an insult. You think that I give a fuck about your $1,000, but that's neither here nor there. That's your $1,000. Do not be like my parents who gave away their money for somebody else to use and then basically gave them back nothing. So what you did was rent your money out. When we are talking about trading, knowledge is what's going to keep you emotionless. Knowledge is what's going to keep you still on track with what it is you've been planning the whole time. Knowledge is the weapon. Experience is the weapon. Experience teaches you, I don't need to risk a lot right now on my personal account. Experience teaches you, if I miss this trade, I've been here for 10 years. There'll be a tomorrow, God willing. Experience teaches you to wait for specific things to happen for you to go real risk. Experience teaches you to let your trades play out. Experience teaches you that just because you wanted to wait 3 hours, but it's taking 10 hours, it doesn't mean that this is not going to work. Experience teaches you that if you want to drop this and you don't like this trade and it's not going in the way you want because of something on screen, not your feelings, but something on screen, drop it then, because there is a tomorrow. But most people, the way that they trade is just feelings. I always tell the community, this is one of the most common ways that people trade, whether they say it or not. They either wake up in the morning, they scratch their nuts, they go take a pee, right? They're leaning against the wall, and they open up their phone with their other hand, right? So one hand's on the wall, they're peeing, and then the other hand's on the phone. And then they look at their phone and they go, oh, this looks good, and they trade. And maybe they win or maybe they lose. You know what they're definitely doing? Creating bad habits where they don't actually sit down and prepare for the next moment, where they don't actually understand all these little key points about every single trade. They don't journal. They don't have proper risk management. They don't have understanding of what they're trading. They don't understand fundamentals, technicals, planning. They're not acquiring data in order to improve on their next trade. They're not doing anything. They're just pressing buttons on a phone. That is gambling. You might put a pretty name on it like trading, but all you're doing is gambling. You're pressing buttons in hopes to make money. And even if you make it, you're going to lose it because you have no understanding of how to keep it. You're not going to withdraw there. You're afraid of putting yourself back in a position where you might go back to zero. Everything is emotion. So if you want to get better at this, learn your technicals. Be a master of your technicals. Have a repetitive approach with your technicals, with your approach. Not everyone's going to be like me, a position and swing trader. I didn't start that way. I was a 15-minute guy on GBP/JPY. Every day, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, hourly chart. Every day, for years. Until eventually I just realized I can't do this anymore. I can't be on screen that much. This right now, I'm starting to get antsy where I want to get up. I don't want to be on screen anymore. You've been doing this as long as me, you wouldn't want to be on the screen either. But I do like what I do. And one of you asked me, hey, which one should I focus on? Fundamentals or technicals? And I thought today would be a great day to make this video. Hopefully you learned something. If you learned something, like, subscribe, drop a comment, ask me questions. I want to make more of these. These are fun. These are easy. I can do this all day, every day. I do this all day, every day inside of the community. So if you want to actually learn how to trade, you want to be educated in this space, you think that this is something that you're going to be doing for the next 5 to 10 years, there's something you want to do, you found the right guy. Like, comment, subscribe. Reach out to me on Instagram at Gustavo Zaps, on Telegram at Gustavo Zaps. And as always, happy trading.